Hey, my name is Melanie Quick. We're so excited to be here with some amazing mamas here today. I'm going to introduce you to them. We will get to know them a little bit, have a little fun, learn about your different stories and where you are. So we have Falana with us,
Hello.
Rhonda, again myself, Melanie, and Rachel, Jasmine, and Cheryl. Ladies, thank you all so much for joining us. You all look lovely, by the way. I love the colors today. So I just really want to break the ice a little bit. I would love to know, and Falana, I'm looking at you, so I'm going to start with you.
Do not look at me.
I would love to know some of the most embarrassing moments that your kids have put you through. Let us know.
My kids have embarrassed me a lot, but I think the very first time that my kids embarrassed me, I was pregnant with my second child, and my first one was like maybe, I don't know, like close to 2 years, and I was at my baby shower,
Right.
and I was, in the process of trying to potty train my oldest, and she's running around the party, and then having a good old time, and then she stops like right in the middle of the floor and just starts to squeeze, and I was just like, you know better, you're embarrassing me.
Yes.
It was, when you have to go, you have to go.
That's
So,
right.
right
That's a
in the middle.
humbling moment as well.
That
Yes.
was very embarrassing for me.
Yes, mine is bowel movements as well.
Yeah.
What is it with the kids? The bowel movements. Anytime we go to anybody's house, it's like that is the time.
Right.
That is when it hits them. So, Rachel, what about you? What type of embarrassing moments do you have?
Thankfully, we're just coming out of that.
Yeah.
So my 4-year-old, at least, with my 1-year-old, recently, a certain family member will walk up to him and he will just sob, just like absolute sob, and I'm like, I'm sorry. Like, what do you do? The little 1-year-old baby that's sobbing. I'm like, we love you.
There's nothing we've done.
Yeah, it's not you. It's definitely us.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Cheryl, you have to, I can't wait to hear Cheryl's. You should say some names specifically.
Well, actually, I honestly couldn't think of things, like when they were little. I just told my son-in-law that actually more as adults they do say crazy
We
things.
accept
But
those.
I'm not going to say. I mean, I'm not going to say.
Cheryl.
Could call them out, but I will not.
Okay, it may come back around. We'll see.
maybe.
Jasmine, you can share yours.
And it's not really an embarrassing moment because when I say what I'm about to say, there's nothing wrong with if someone does stay in a hotel. I say this. So
man.
we had just transitioned. We had just transitioned from Atlanta to Augusta, and until we figured out where we wanted to stay, we was like, let's get an apartment for a year. So, but my oldest son just kept calling it a hotel. I don't know why, but he just felt like an apartment was a hotel. So we went to the park one day, and he sees some other kids, and he's like, hey, that's my mom, that's my dad, and my little brother, and I stay in a hotel. And I'm just like, did he just say that? And I'm like, no, we do not stay in a hotel. We stay in an apartment. We're okay. Our family is good.
Everything's okay.
Everything's okay. And that was embarrassing for me.
No, I get that. I totally get that. Well, and Rhonda, you have older kids, so maybe you'll share some of the older embarrassing stories.
I do. And again, I don't know. I couldn't think of a whole lot. But one, I do remember we went to some condos at Lake Lure, and for us, it was a little bit of a more nicer vacation. And we didn't have a lot of money when the kids were growing up. And my husband and I had walked down to the lake, and you could see the balcony of the condo we were staying in. And one of my children, she leads worship here. I'm not going to say any names though. And she comes to the balcony and she said, "This place has cable."
Yes.
Yes. Wow. That's really cool.
I mean, that is something to scream about, brace about right there. I love it. I love it.
Home.
Well, Cheryl, can you maybe share with us then, what is one of your favorite parts about being a mom? Maybe a joyful moment that you've had with your kids?
Sure. I don't know that I could say a favorite part because I just loved all the phases.
Yeah.
I know when a lot of people don't like the teenage years. I absolutely loved them. I loved it. I had a strong relationship with the kids, and I mean, obviously, there's tough times. Don't
Right,
get me wrong.
right.
But I loved that. I loved waiting up for them when they got home. I loved that. I mean, we were just talking about that just recently with them about, Mom would always be sitting on that couch waiting for them to come home and talk through their nights and just form strong bonds with them. And I love teenagers. When Steve and I started out, we were youth pastors, so I loved the teens. So that was really a fun time for me.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the teenage years. Honestly, I think some of the tougher times have been as adults,
Okay.
because you lose that. I have 4 grown children now, so, and 3 grandchildren with 1 on the way, and you lose that control
Right.
and
Right.
that say so, anymore. And they it's not that they don't want your advice, but in a way they don't, and it's hard as a mom,
Right.
to sit there and say, okay, you just have to sit there and not say a word.
Yeah.
Before you could just feed. And look, they're great. They come to us for advice, but they often don't want it now. They just want you to listen.
Yeah.
Listen.
There is a hard balance between letting them grow up
Yeah.
and walking alongside them as friends. All 5 of mine are 20 to 32. They're older, and I still have 2 at home. But coming alongside of them and being their friend and kind of waiting for them to lean into
Right.
maybe some
Asking.
teachings or some advice, because you want to let them. You kind of want to let the Lord show them how to walk this path.
Right.
And and it's better that He teach them
Yeah.
than we teach them.
That's right.
And try to control them. So finding that balance, I think, of when to let the Lord speak into them and when they're kind of needing some advice, because I don't know about you, but you want to find your times very wisely to speak to them.
Yes.
You do, and you don't always want to be harping, that you should do this or you should do that. You really want to just be careful and sense the Lord. Maybe I should say something here.
Yeah. Well, especially as a mom of young kids, and I hear y'all talk about the different chapters that you've gone through and finding the joy in those chapters. And how do you continue to weave the Lord into those conversations and in those different chapters of life? I mean, and that can even go to the mid-range teenager, because I know you have a teenager as well. How do you find those moments to weave the Lord into your conversations in your day-to-day?
I'd be interested too, because you've just went through a pretty big life change. And so how did you speak to your children going through that change and the Lord, in that transition?
I am not shy when it comes to I don't want to say I'm beating my head with Jesus. I mean, my faith is strong, and so in anything, I know that I don't do anything out of my own might or will. God perfectly orchestrates every event in our lives, and so yes, I am a single mother of 2 15-year-old, 13-year-old girls, and so when we were transitioning from California back to my hometown in Augusta, it was just like, we're just going on a journey. Jesus is coming with us. I drove a U-Haul 4 days. Jesus pulling my car. I was 20 foot. I didn't know. My entire family was afraid, and I just said the Lord's going to be with us. And I tell my kids, the Lord is with us. And so I mean, it's just. It's a constant reminder. Anything that happens in our lives, if something that great happens, I always remind my kids, it wasn't anything that had to do with me. It was all God. So always remember. So, I mean, when we go out to eat, thank you, Jesus, that we're able to get this food. Thank you that you provided for us that we can get this. We go on a shopping spree, every so often. And I'm like, it wasn't me, boo. That was Jesus. The Lord provided, He provided the funds to do it. So, I mean, in every way, I just want them to always know that God is the center of everything that we do. Everything.
Yeah. I love the way you speak about the Lord too. I mean, it's
encouraging.
It is. Well, I'd love to hear too from some of you ladies how your faith impacts how you mother and get through motherhood.
I think for me, how it impacts is just right now at this stage of where we are is just learning, kind of what you say, as your kids are older, relinquishing that control. Me learning to relinquish that control and trust that God is God. Saying like my son is about to transition into kindergarten and a new school, and he's learning new teachers and this whole environment that he's about to be put in. I'm kind of like, all right, what is this gonna look like? That's right. Learning, it's and God is just reminding me, am I not Lord? When He walks out of, do you not pray?
Yep.
You know, when you pray and give me that control and trust me in that, then I'm going to do what I've already been doing for him. I'm protecting him. I'm guiding him. I'm leading him. So me holding on to those promises that
That's
God
right.
has given me and trusting that I can't just hold it like this because he has to grow up.
Control is the hardest. I mean, it's like, and
hard.
you've got to practice what you preach in that
Yeah.
because it is so difficult as a parent. You know, Rachel, I'd love to hear from you as well if you have something.
Yeah, it's just remembering. I feel like the key thing, just in general motherhood, is feeling like I'm constantly failing. But it's remembering what's true and what God says about you, and thinking on, you know, what is true, noble, you know, pure and lovely. Thinking on those things and remembering that my grace is sufficient for you.
That's right.
And you know, his power is made perfect in our weakness. And so that just covers it because, you know, you go through the day and it's like, man, did I do anything right today? Yeah. It's just like, you did. If you did nothing today, which is, you know, how motherhood feels a lot of times when you're mothering littles. I've got 1 and 3. But that's the most important thing to be doing is to show them the love that you have for them and the love that the Lord has for them.
Yeah, I love that. I just love to hear the different, again, just the different chapters and how you navigate those. Let's change it up a little bit. What about, I'd love to hear some of the greatest challenges you've had as a parent. I mean, this could be faith-based or it can just be lighthearted, whatever that means for you. So, Cheryl, I'm looking at you. I'd love to hear like your greatest challenge through motherhood.
Different personalities, I think. So with 4 children, I believe I have all different personalities. One very strong, you know, some very compliant, and how to parent the same.
Yeah.
That's so
you know, that they're all so different, but you have to show them, you know, parenting discipline all different ways. I mean, in many ways, you have to.
And dividing your time. I mean, from
That's
the
fair.
mothers
Yeah.
that have multiple kids, I've
That's
always
hard.
wondered that
Yeah.
challenge.
It was very hard doing that with that's very true. That was a big, you always felt like you weren't enough because you are not being enough for that one child. I agree with you. Oftentimes you think you're not enough. So that's when you have to turn it over.
Yeah.
Say, you know,
Yeah.
God's grace is there when you're not.
Patience.
Yeah.
Patience, yes.
Having patience, yes, with my
Yeah.
my preschooler. He is very similar to me, which is wonderful and lovely. And then also we just, you know, butt heads a lot. It's just the no, and I want to do my own thing, and I don't want you to,
That's right.
you know, to say what I'm doing, and I'm just like, Lord, please help me.
See, and you and I are in similar walks of life. So mine is patience. It's so challenging to have patience and have God's grace in those moments when they want to just take off all their clothes and run around naked for no reason. And you're like, but why?
Or not take off their clothes
Yes.
when you want them to.
But why?
Please, can we
Eating
put your
dinner
shoes
is
on?
good.
Like, no, absolutely.
It
I'm
is
not
good.
putting shoes on today.
You know, but it's strange because I find myself diving deeper into my relationship with the Lord through that of like, God feels that way towards me probably all of the time. Melanie, I'm trying to be patient with you and I'm trying to guide you here. So that's how that kind of helps me see how God speaks to us through that and through our motherhood and things that we go through and control. I mean, that was another thing that, Shirley, you mentioned. It's just to really relinquish that control. So, but yeah, what are some things that challenge you ladies?
I would love to speak on. Girl, I got so many for you. You got your paper and pen because I'm gonna give it to you. No, as a single mom, the biggest challenge is doing it yourself.
Yeah.
It is. I have gone through like so many challenges and just the pressure. Like I'm only one person, but I'm trying to be mother and father.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I'm trying to be their counselor, be their, chauffeur, and it's like, it's only one of me. And it's like, it's really hard when you're working a full-time job and but they are in need. And it's like if you miss an opportunity to be there for them or to serve them, then you're like, dang, I'm beating myself up right now because I can't be there for you. So I'm gonna have to find someone to replace me, but I know they want me there, And so, yeah, it's really difficult because it's not only a spiritual thing because now like I've worked all day and I want to have a little time, but I want to try to do this Devo with you. But I'm really tired, and we've missed many prayer times and many Devos. Just being able financially carrying the load by yourself. It is. being a single mom has been probably the most challenging thing I've ever done in my entire life. But I'm blessed because I know who my father is, and he's at the end of the day, God is my father, and he's my provider who helps me to provide for them. So, you know,
That's
but
right.
it's challenging doing it by yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was about to say something just to feed off that, because I think one of the challenges that my husband and I talk about all the time, and just me as a mother of two kids, I have my 4-year-old and I have my 10-year-old who's my bonus son, and parenting outside of the household and making sure that we're just as intentional as we are with Landon, who's in the house with us full time. We only have that Friday, Saturday, Sunday to be very intentional with our oldest son. And that can kind of become a challenge, because it's like, hey, did we do enough this week? Did we pour in enough this week? Or how can we, be sure that we're showing up for him just as much as we're showing up for our 4-year-old, but he stays 2 hours away. So how do we maneuver that with the, taking off and doing that? So that's kind of can be challenging for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Anything for you, Rhonda?
I think for me, in just looking at the stage of life I'm in, is watching my children make decisions maybe that I wouldn't choose for them to make, and kind of just sitting back and knowing they're on their journey of faith, like I walked my journey of faith.
right.
And God taught me unique things according to my walk. And I learned more about him a lot of times through the mistakes you make, through some of the hard decisions you choose to make. And then also watching life happen to my children, my adult children, and knowing I can't scoop them up and put a Band-Aid on that knee.
That's
I
right.
can't. And I can intercede and pray and fast for them and go to the feet of Jesus for them. But you want something tangible. And so just going to the Father who cares more for them than I do, and putting them in his hands. And so that's probably one of the most challenging things, having adult children and not knowing their path. And you can't say 100%. You can say this is going to be okay, but you can't say 100%. You'll get that job. You'll find a husband. You can't say that for sure. You don't know what God has for them. So,
And
that's probably one of the most challenging.
And be encouraging through that, because you're right. That's the challenges in a 9-month-old and a 4-year-old is so different. I mean, it's very real life challenges that you have to help guide your kids through, and that's heavy as a mother. I mean, how do, especially in ladies, I'm kind of looking a little bit more towards those that have the older kids. In those stages of life, how has that taught you more about your relationship with the Lord, and maybe how he treats you through those times, and guiding through those a little bit more tougher years where they're really into life?
Yeah. It's sometimes, to be honest with you, I question God. I look back and I think, the Lord, I did what I felt like you would have had me do, but then at the end of the day, I have to realize I'm a sinner. I come short, and I'm raising a sinner. So it's almost like you kind of wrestle with the Psalms like David did, where you don't understand. You just don't understand. But at the end, you have to realize he's sovereign. He's good. He loves me. He loves them. And his way is best. And, and I suffer. So in wrestling here on earth, hoping that he'll receive glory in some capacity through this. So you wrestle with him, but in the end fall at his knees. And
I love that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think, your children you've raised your children. So they are the Lord to look after in those ways. And, I'm just there to, as the sounding board. There are decisions they're made that we don't totally agree with at times. And, I do have Steve to sit there and say, it's okay, really keep your mouth shut. Sometimes the mouth spews off. That's really, let's sit back. Let's, let them be convicted, by God through some of these things. But also the cool thing is, as adults, I'm going to turn it a little bit. My children have taught me a ton with faith. I mean,
oh wow,
we have a family text, oftentimes they throw out a worship song. Hey, heard this morning, heard this message, on our family group text. It's awesome. Sometimes their faith just amazes me, and I'm like, wow, that's awesome. So, their faith
encouraging.
has
Yeah,
grown
so
me in
encouraging.
ways,
That's
that
I
they
love
say.
that.
So I'm like, that's awesome too.
It
So I
is.
see that in their
Yes.
faith, and so that's really cool. So that's a cool way that God has shown me through them faith.
One of my favorite things as far as like God and faith and motherhood is I really think that as humans, we are the closest thing to God's love. Like mothers and loving our children is the closest thing that we as humans can comprehend of how much God loves us. Like I can't fathom that God loves my Jackson, Reed, and Finley more than I do, but He does, and it's just incredible and truly like humbling, and like what a blessing to have a God that loves us that much, and what a blessing that we as mothers can have like a small glimpse of that like amazing love.
Yeah.
Isn't it wonderful to see God through a child's eyes? It's no wonder that Jesus said,
Magic.
let the little children be like
Yes.
these.
Be like
because
them.
they just see Him and embrace Him.
Every single thing. I
Yes.
think Steve talked about going on a walk with the grandbabies, and like literally, like
Yeah.
everything is magic. Like Christmas
Right.
Yeah.
morning, it's just like the sweetest thing. Like that's how Jackson Reed is. He's like about everything. Like I got you, some chips at the grocery store, and he's like, thank you.
So good.
Oh, I need to meet him.
Yes, he's my light.
But I think that's how God wants us to view Him.
It is.
Yeah.
Like
It's
when
so,
He tells
like
us to be kids. And I was going to say too, Rhonda, just something that you stated about just watching I don't have older kids, but something I have learned, I am still learning, is that trusting in your ability that you've done what God has told you to do. When He said, train them up in the way that they should go. You're equipping them. You've given them the tools that they need. You've been their sounding voice. You've placed the word in them, so the word is not going to lead them. They may be stray, because think about our walk with the Lord. It's never been perfect. That walk has never been straight. But I always heard the sounding voice of someone who taught me the word to go back to.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, and talking about that, like y'all were talking about raising your children, in your faith, and how do you teach faith through them? I think it's just a daily. You were talking about that. It's a daily talk with them, even from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so then it's just a natural conversation as you go up. So it's not something odd for them to hear the name of
Yeah.
Jesus. It's not hard. What would He think about that today? What would He think? Is that wise? I know your friends are doing that. This is teenagers now, but it doesn't feel odd to them, and not make it weird. Just a normal conversation, so that's just how they just automatically think. It's just a natural thing.
Yes.
So make it just everyday life, every day
Yeah.
that Jesus is a part of everything. So.
we have a big emphasis on prayer, obviously, and I just love hearing Jackson Reed's prayers. Like he just
prayers are the best.
like just the sweetest thing like that will just come to his mind. Like I had no idea that you were thinking about that, and it's just like the sweetest, most genuine, like, and just reminding him that no matter where you are and no matter what you're doing, like you can always talk to Jesus. Like you're saying, like Jesus, they learn about that a lot. So that's
They
more
learn- that's their-
than like God,
words.
which
I mean,
it's they're
bottom
young.
lines and stuff. Like
Yeah.
Always
Yes.
talk to Jesus. And Jesus loves you, and like there's
Yeah.
like when their hearts get heavy, they can go to Jesus. I've seen that like on social media, and I just feel like it's so important. And like
Yeah.
just us going back to what is true is teaching that truth to them and remembering the same thing that we're teaching them. It's
right.
like
Yeah.
when my heart feels heavy, when I feel like I cannot
Yes.
do this anymore.
Yeah.
To remember like my heart can also go to Jesus anytime.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm thankful for someone who serves in the kids area. Very thankful for the program that True North has
Absolutely.
put together.
It's
And I
amazing.
don't know if y'all have seen it, and probably some of your kids have been in it. I think I've met a few. But what they come out learning, and I do take so much from it, and being there and hearing the bottom line.
Yeah.
And when she just said, when Ella Rose will just say it out of nowhere when we're in the middle of just dinner, it makes you feel like, okay. We're making the right steps for you to be introduced to the Lord. So that gives a little bit of peace through those hard moments, and you're like, okay, Lord, thank you for that. We're not failing completely, and with the help of everyone around us. For us, it's very much too of just the help of community. That's something that we've really learned through our time in True North and getting involved in small groups. When we feel at the bottom, it's hard sometimes. I mean, you as a single parent, but you bring that community together and they can build you up in those hard times when you finally get them down to sleep and you're like, oh, I can finally take a breath. So that, how do you feel like you really pick yourself up during those times, or any advice that you would give another mother that may be going through some challenges in the similar stage of parenthood that you are?
I definitely, when I feel like I'm getting weak, I'm pressing in more.
Yeah.
I believe in, first thing in the morning is time devoted to God. I like to start my day that way. Hasn't been that way since I moved back, because I'm still trying to find my new rhythm, but I still find the pockets. I mean, it's a day, it's a journey, and it's every moment God is with me. He's omnipresent, so he's here. So it's like I'm talking to him as I'm typing on my computer, or if I'm walking to the restroom, or just it's just always like pressing. When I feel weak, I'm pressing more, and then I put my pride aside and I say, I reach out to someone. I need prayer in this area. I'm struggling right now, and I just, please, can you just pray for me? And my friends will pray for me right there on the spot, because it's needed. We like to support each other in that way. So having a community of people that are strong believers that can lift you up, just like when Moses had his hands up, he had to have him lifted, honey. He needed a community. So just having that, it helped me a lot.
Yeah. Community is key. And I'll tell you, more even in the troubled times, they've been my counselors to go to, and they've allowed me to be transparent, what's hard, what's not, and talk through some things, and even just weekly community and small groups. And I've learned from my Christian sisters as well too. I've learned parenting tips, so much from other sisters, and just the way they do things, the way they introduce God to their kids, and so that's been a huge advantage. It's a necessity is to have other Christian sisters surround me.
Well, and I kind of love how you put that, because we all come from different areas and different parenting styles, and it may not be the healthiest, and that's all you have as a parent to parent yourself. So I mean, I just love how you put that, because I have taken so much from my Christian sisters and mothers of how to handle such a situation with grace and with love, and not with a heavy tone and making them confused or inferior. So I just love how you put that. That was beautiful. Anything for you, Rachel?
Well, I think I mentioned earlier, like when you get to the end of the day and you feel like you've done nothing, just remembering that it was enough, that, God has equipped me to raise these precious little lives, and he will give me the tools, and he'll give me the strength when I don't have any left to do it, and to do it well, because that's my desire, to raise kind men, to raise strong men who love Jesus and love people. And that came straight from God. That's what he wants. And so, he's there to guide me, and to guide me and my husband both to raise these boys. So he's faithful to do it. So even when I feel like I can't, or that I haven't done anything today, I've done a lot, and it's enough.
I think for me, how I see it is something I was talking to someone else about. It's about being a parent is also about unlearning certain habits and behaviors from your parents.
Yes.
So how I was raised was not the greatest. So it's like I've had to unlearn certain things.
Absolutely.
To ensure that I'm raising them in a healthy, positive, nurturing environment. So that when I'm not there, they can still hear my voice.
That's right.
Or not even my,
in the Lord.
in the Lord,
Absolutely.
to direct them in certain ways and situations. And kind of something that you said, knowing that you are enough, is just not comparing.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh my gosh.
It's
so hard.
Not comparing, not thinking that someone else got it together, because I could not have imagined raising multiple kids at one time. Listen, the two that I have, I'm like, that's enough, Lord, and I'm good. No more. No more.
My cup runneth over.
I don't even want to experience that. I'm good.
Cheryl, anything for
Well,
you?
I think what you said is great about the not comparison and not parenting out of our insecurities. I think that's a thing mothers do.
So good.
Just like the comparison game, we have insecurities. And I mean, so people entering my stage, even as adults, you know, I mean, you know, other people come and influence your children as adults and their spouses and their new fiancés and their new, you know, and not doing, you know, what was I good enough? They show you your children's weaknesses at that time and you find insecurities within that. You know, you're like, oh, you know, did I not, understanding that we are enough, that don't parent out of that, just love, you know, and when they're adults like that, I think just keep the door open and an ear open for them, you know, because, you know, when you're thinking about going into, I know they said to do at each stage of your life, and for my stage, that's what I wish somebody had said to me. You know what? Just keep your advice very minimal. Just listen, because I want my kids to come to my house and still talk to me. I don't want them they don't want the bad anymore. So, just don't parent out of insecurities. I think that's a big thing. Don't compare. I love that, you know.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Well, really grateful for y'all ladies for sharing your stories. I want to kind of close this out with a little bit of a heartfelt, but maybe a fun one as well. So you can keep it short or long, whatever feels right to you. But Rhonda, I'm kind of looking at you. What's maybe your favorite thing about being a mother, and a piece of advice for men to understand what it's like to be a mother? Advice for the dads.
Advice for the dads. I'll say probably in this stage, my favorite thing about being a mother is I just really get to enjoy my kids. I mean, when they call, I love it when they call. I want to be there for them. And there's something about my children that just feed my soul as adult children.
That's
just
great.
being with them. Sometimes the troubles of life, a call from them, it's just so calming. And so that's just one of the best things right now. Advice for men. I don't know. That's a hard one. I can go back to when mine were little. I have 3 under 2. And then I had an 8 and a 10-year-old, and it was hard.
Yeah, and twins.
That's what
the
made
twins.
them.
Yes.
Yeah, so when the twins were born, the next one up was not quite 2 yet. So it was just hard. I was at home with them, thankfully, but it's hard. And so I don't know. I think maybe my husband was great. He was wonderful. He would let me go on ladies' conferences. He would keep the kids. Now I would call like at 3 p.m, and they hadn't ate all day. You know, so they were alive. They were alive
all day.
But so just feed them. Letting the woman go and just get fed. You know, get fed, be with some sisters, some
fed.
friends. That's probably, and my husband was great at that, so I'm very thankful for that. But yeah, if you could feed them breakfast and lunch, that might be helpful.
Let me be fed and then feed them. Yeah, I love that.
For me, the best, like my kids, I'm so blessed. And I'm not saying this because my girls they're my girls, but the Lord has truly blessed me with some amazing daughters. They actually like being around me. Yeah, they actually think I'm cool. I'm like their friend.
Teach me your ways.
Girl, the grace of God. Okay, but I really enjoy seeing them happy. I enjoy playing Just Dance with them. They are my biggest supporters. They're my biggest cheerleaders. They are like my broke best friends. Like I'm paying for everything. We just have a good time doing things, and honestly, I don't even know where I would be if it wasn't for them, if they didn't love me like they did. If they were just really, really rebellious, and I had to struggle to be a single mom, I don't even know if I could make it. That God knew, He knew. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Lord.
That's right.
And the advice I would give to dads is just to be empathetic. I think that sometimes there's a disconnect with men when it comes to like motherhood, especially for stay-at-home moms. Like it is mentally, emotionally taxing, and it's just like I am like constantly waiting hand and foot on these children, and by the time you get home, I just want to break. So I think it's just really It's just, but it's just some kind of reason there's just a disconnect because it's just like you've been home all day. What are you complaining about? Really?
We won't take it there, but when that gets said,
I have decreased my vocabulary to that of a 2 and a 4-year-old, and I just want to have adult conversation right
Yes.
now. You know, so just be a little empathetic, man, please.
yes, I'm going to echo that because mine is like just having that little pocket of time.
Yeah.
I am a working mother, and I love that. I've always seen my mother be a working mother, so I want my kids, my girls, to see me in that. But when I come home and they finally go to bed, I just need about 5-10 minutes just to me. So for mine's the same thing. Sometimes we women, we just need that moment to be ourselves, regather as us, as women and children. Yeah, children of God, just to be fulfilled by Him for that one moment. And for me, that's this stage of life with young kids, just seeing everything through their eyes. It's so beautiful. They just find joy. I believe that's what you said earlier, just the little things. And Pastor said this before, they pick up a rock and they are just mesmerized by a rock. It's just finding the joy in the things that we look over every single day and take for granted that I really love. So
Yes.
yours
for sure.
too?
Yes, that same thing. And then just like they have the purest love. Like they see us at our worst. Bless them and their sweethearts. And he just, will hug me and say, "It's okay, Mama."
Kids give
it's
good
just-
hugs.
Yeah,
They do. Oh yeah.
Yes, they
for
do.
sure. For sure they do. It's just the sweetest thing. For dads, I'd say just to keep in mind that they are different people when they are with you versus when they're with us.
That part.
It's just a different ball game. I know that they were great and they listened to every single thing you asked them to do, but I promise that person was not the person that was here with me all day. So I'm glad that went well for you.
So
Glad for that journey for you. Love that. Jasmine?
I think for me, the best part is to see, how can I say this? To see that God gave me what the doctor said I couldn't have.
Oh, man.
And I was the woman with the barren womb that God heard my cry and opened my womb and gave me Landon. So to see this person call me mom, to see this person come in the door, and and just to see this person walking around my house every day, I see the faithfulness of God.
Absolutely.
And,
We're not going to cry today.
I know.
and for me, that's the best part of being a mom, because I'm like, God, like the times where I am struggling with my faith and with my walk, I'm able to honestly look into the other room and say, like, I see your blueprint. I see that you're faithful in this area. And I'm able to use that to encourage someone else, because I know it's difficult and I've been there.
And I hope someone hears that today. Yeah.
And I think advice to fathers, I always tell my husband, like, I was Jasmine before I was a mom and a wife. So remember that, like, and it's time when I want to go, hey, I want to go do this, or hey, I'm going to go do this, to kind of just get away from being that. And then I'm thankful that I do have a husband, that sometimes when I can get caught up in being a mom, that he says, oh, hey, I want to know Jasmine. Can I get to know Jasmine tonight and not mom?
That's a good
And it's
man.
like, all right, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go have date night. So
Yes.
I'm grateful. I am grateful for that. So
You got a good one.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's great.
and then just another bit of advice for those that after children, things will slow down a little bit, but it don't have to. But just know, motherhood does kind of take a toll on us.
Yeah.
It can, and the Lord did say our bodies were not our own, but just keep that in mind. That, these kids do take a lot out of us.
That's right.
And that's not on the first list of priorities sometimes with moms. So that would be my advice.
Going there.
All right, Cheryl. Wow. And she just gave it over to you.
Parenting, I think it's just awesome. So it's just been great. And now as adults, best friends, and they're in so many are, 3 of my children are here. It's awesome having them in the house.
Yeah,
and
that's awesome.
having them around, having relationships, build those relationships young, so you'll have them when they're older, they see these challenges, but realize just love them, talk to them, be their friend as you get older. Be their parent, but their friend. But yeah, I love it. So, I mean, like you said, it's uplifting just having your kids call you, you know. One of my sons, I said, I haven't even talked to him today. And the next morning, he walked in, he had my coffee in his hand. Well, I said, he was going to lunch with my husband. I said, he didn't call me. And he comes walking in with a cup of coffee for me. And I said, oh, thank you. It's just, those are fun.
That's so
Those are just
special.
fun things about having kids.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say to dads. I mean,
I was looking forward to yours.
I know. I don't know what to say to dads.
Give us something.
I mean, I don't know. I think all of y'all's things were great. I mean, but I do think with dads, it's different because, you know, don't you feel like your kids are on you? It's a constant thing with you, and dads when you leave, so they have to be understanding of that.
That's right. That's right.
We carry them. I don't think they do as much, and so there's an understanding. I just was talking recently to some women about that because you know, when you leave, don't on your mind. When you leave, when you're on a trip, on your mind. I mean, it's just such a constant thing. That dads, it's hard for dads sometimes to understand that. I think men, that's not always the case. Not that they don't love them as much as us, but I think we care our children to understand that. But I love Jaws. I love letting going out. That's awesome. You know, going out with your husbands, letting them have girls' nights, giving them peace, giving you all. So dads just, you know, take over with the kids sometimes. Don't have to be asked. Just do it.
Oh, just do it. Love that.
And for what you said, Cheryl, in my stage of life, it's like the guy's side of the bed for some reason can't hear the baby monitor. So I feel like that starts at a really young age, like the baby's young age. It's like they could just turn it off. So
yes, they can. Even then.
That's right. Well, again, thank you, ladies, so much. From the bottom of my heart, you each are so special and such an amazing walk of life that you go through. So just want to encourage all of our mothers out there. So happy Mother's Day to you, ladies, and happy Mother's Day to all of you.
Thank you.